the Board of Aviation Commissioners monthly meeting of March 5th, 2020. Members present, myself, Kurt Hunter, Greg Poulin, Jeff Bartlett, T.Y. Okerson. All members are present. Also in attendance, we have Paul Schaefer, our consultant for BF&S, our City Council Liaison, Gene Simmons, and Jessica Ward, our airport manager. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes of the January 9 meeting?
Yes.
Can we get a motion to approve or disapprove?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, financials.
Alrighty.
Yes.
I do have for our account balances report, I have March and February's in there. I'm not going to talk about February's because obviously I'm going to talk about everything that's changed in March anyways. But I just wanted you guys to have it for your records. So since this meeting was so early in March, I didn't really have many invoices on the claims docket for March, but there were a couple. There was like 5 on there. We're only over a projected monthly budget in salaries, FICA, and PERF. The reason being, since there were 3 payrolls in January instead of the regular 2, those numbers are just 1 payroll more than what they should be. So it kind of looks like we're over our projected budget in those, but it's kind of skewed. It's not like a real thing because at the end of the year, we still have 26 payrolls this year. So in January, it's just different, but the rest of the months will all be right, and then we'll end with 26 payrolls. So at the end of the year, it's going to even all the way out, but it might show on there for those 3 that were over budget. But everything else we're under budget, and even for our total monthly, we're still under budget, even with those over budget numbers that aren't really exactly correct. The only invoice that came out of our fuel fund was for our tank lease payment for the Swift tank. And I did look to see when we're done paying that, and it's going to be April 15th.
All right.
So April 15th, the bill we get April 15th, that'll be our last month paying it, so it'll be on our May claims docket, and then we will own it outright. So that was pretty exciting. We've been paying on that since 2017 with no interest, so that's why we did it that way. And that's, I mean, really there's nothing else to talk about on for the financials. Fuel sales. Overall, we sold 551.7 gallons of 100 low lead, 1,017 gallons of Jet A, and 0 gallons of Swift fuel, and that was in January, because I'm doing January's numbers since we didn't have a meeting last month. In February, we sold 414.3 gallons of 100 low lead, 969 gallons of Jet A, and 131.3 gallons of Swift fuel. And I can tell you, we are up 2% right now so far year-to-date fuel sales over last year. UL 94 was 294% up this past month, and 100 low was 94% up. And then Jet A, we were down 15% over last year in February. Our self-service 100 low lead is $4.30 a gallon. Full service 100 low lead is $4.40 a gallon. Our Jet A is $3.30 per gallon for both full and self-service. And our self-service UL 94 is $4.43 per gallon. The price of 100 low lead is going to decrease to $4.11 for self-service and $4.21 for full service starting tomorrow, because I just got a load of that and I just got the bill tonight. And I did just order a full load of jet fuel as well, which we'll receive Monday. And I know that our price is going to go down on that as well. So as soon as I get the bill, I will drop that also.
Good. Excellent.
So for airport manager, the hangar A52 update. We got first on the list? Yes. The city IT department has finished routing the fiber down to the hangar for Wi-Fi, which was also reported in January. Friedrichs has installed the heater, and their bill is, I paid them, their claim was on our claims docket this month. It did pass inspection by the city inspector, and I have sent the application for the new gas meter to NIPSCO already. I did receive confirmation that our application's been received, and the application was headed to an engineer for installation scheduling. So we're moving forward on that. Rodney Brewer has completed the framing for the installation, and Mompart has finished insulating the walls and the ceiling. So it looks really good. So the only thing they have left to do is the door, and that's going to be spray foam, so they're going to come back and do that. And then that's going to be completed. And the city IT is then going to finish installing the fiber into the building and the antenna on top for Wi-Fi.
Did they run that out
Yes.
Is that what's
Yep.
up here?
Yeah, they can't finish it because they want to make sure everything's working right
Right.
before they kind of,
Yeah.
well, actually, it's ran along our taxiway down that side, so they did cover that up and everything. They just left it open right here.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that'll be taken care of as soon as they are done with installation there. So we're doing good.
Excellent.
And after we get that heated, we are doing our drone cam, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute, out of that hangar in June, but until then, like if somebody wants to do like a monthly rental on that hangar or whatever, like before then we can do that, or we can use it for overnights, and then after June we'll be able to do like a monthly hangar rental on that as well, just to get some revenue with that building. Avgas Jet A truck servicing. City maintenance is trying to work both of our jet and Avgas fuel trucks in for regular annual maintenance. They're waiting on parts and then are going to get them on the schedule. They're going to change the oil, do tune-ups, and fix the brake booster leak that we have on the Hunter Lola truck. So we're pretty excited about that. The only thing is, when I talked to them, it was like in January, so it's like 2 months later from when we like discussed it. They talked to me and said that they ordered the parts and they were going to get us on the schedule. But they did want us to empty out the trucks as much as we could because I wanted to take them back to central maintenance in order to do the repairs. And so, but I had to order fuel. I couldn't wait any longer, especially on
How does
Avgas.
that have it empty?
Because they're just nervous about having them full of fuel down in their building. It's just a comfort level with new administration.
Okay.
So yeah, that should be interesting, trying to empty those out. I told them, don't fill those trucks. I don't care, like, as usually we fill them every weekend, but I just told them, my guys, not to fill them at all.
Do we have to get the brakes fixed? They just slow you down,
We just slew, okay, so there's that. I also have two other things I wanted to just talk about in my airport manager report, which is the high school drone camp. For some reason, I keep forgetting to put it on here, and then I remember when I'm doing my report. So far, we've had $1,500 donation in hand from Horizon Bank for the high school drone camp and $1,000 confirmed donations on the way. The camp is going to be the week of June 15th. It's going to be daily from 9 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday, and we are looking at approximately 16 kids. We are planning to have one speaker a day discuss different, aviation and drone-related topics on the speaker a day. So what will happen is the kids will be, learning about drones and being able to fly the drones, and then the other half of the class is going to be talking with the speaker, and then it'll swap to where they flip-flop, and then the other half of the class is going to go and do the drones while somebody, the other 8 do the speaker. So that's the plan so far. So I'm likely going to have to order a porta potty for next to that hangar during that week, because it's going to be hard to get kids all the way down to this building for a restroom. Like, there's just no other way really to do that. So I'm going to do that. The sponsors are going to be named on all of our advertising, and also on the backs of shirts. We're going to get them shirts that say Michigan City Drone Camp or whatever it is, and then the sponsors will be on the back, so all the kids will have those shirts. And the city IT department is going to bring us 8 computers for half the class to be using to do. On the computers, they actually do simulators for like drones and stuff, so it's really cool in the software they use. So half will be able to do that, which is why we have a split up to 8 are going to do the classroom time while 8 do the speaker, and vice versa.
Are they going to do any actual drones?
Yes, we're going to get some drones too that they're going to fly.
How many?
We're hoping to get 8. If we make if we make our $5,000 goal for fundraising, then we'll be able to do 8. Right now we have 2,500, so we're not going to be able to get all 8, but we're really hoping to pull in some more sponsors too. And so we're also looking at having a free breakfast, possibility of free breakfast for the campers each morning. So that's what we have, and then we would probably do it from like 8:30 to noon if we could do
What's the age
breakfast.
group?
It's high schoolers, so we're going to do like 15 to like 18.
Are we buying the drones? Or?
No, it's all sponsored.
Oh,
Sponsors, yep, is gonna fund everything. It's privately funded by the sponsors. The city's not.
Right up until.
I'm probably going to request, depending on how much money we get, that we pay for the porta potty next to that for that week. But other than that,
The drones when they're donated?
yes.
Okay.
Yep, the drones will be ours. So any help that you guys can offer on sponsorship, I know you reached out for sponsorship, to somebody, it didn't work out, but any help that you guys can get, like ideas for different sponsors that might, be able to donate any amount of money that we can use for the camp would be awesome. Or obviously ideas, speakers, anything, just talk to me after the meeting or whenever you guys get a chance, and we can talk through some ideas that you may have, or sponsorship ideas or something. All right?
Sounds good.
Great. Next, lastly, one last little item for you guys. LaPorte Middle School, gosh darn, they're gonna do a field trip out here and I just can't wait. It's a class of 15 special education students that are coming. They're gonna be here March 24th from 10 to 11:30. And you know I'm gonna put something exciting together for them. I don't know what yet, but I got a little while, right? March 24th. And we're gonna do a tour of the airport. Obviously, I'll show them around and maybe I'm gonna drag some airplanes out of some hangars or something for them to look at things up close and personal, especially if there's some retired pilots around that might be able to drag out some airplanes for it. That would be great.
We're looking at you.
That would be really fun. So I'm going to look for some exciting things for them to do while they're here. And we do have like balsa gliders, so that'll be fun. So I'm going to give them all balsa gliders and show them how to put them together and everything. So we'll at least have fun with those because those are great. We love doing the balsa gliders. Not one, even adults love the balsa glider. So it's going to be great. I'm excited. So that's going to happen. And that literally was just scheduled today. So those are my exciting items.
Nice.
Do you want to talk about Zulu now or no?
I can actually talk about the police want to come out and do the training on the ramp again. I did talk to them. They requested it in May, and I told them May doesn't work for us because it's just part of, we start getting busier May through October. So I told them I would prefer it to be before May or after September. So I said anytime October or later or like next month or this month would be the only thing that, I could, feel comfortable about doing and not having it affect traffic and things like that. They would do it in like 3 days, the same thing. They'll just put chalk X's, like the chalk where the cones go, so we can take them down at any time if we need to use it for extra aircraft or whatever the case may be.
What is it, 2 days?
It's 3 days. It depends on like their scheduling for the police officers because they're on 24-hour schedules, obviously, right? So it depends on their scheduling. One year they did it in 3, and the other year they did it in 4 days.
Okay.
So whatever it works out to be for them.
Is there a way we can charge them for using the facility? Just checking.
I suppose.
I mean, they'll need something little, because it looks like continuity, they're gonna continue to use it. I remember one time in our discussions, we said, well, that's pending them finding a permanent place, right? But they haven't found a place, so they're using.
Right.
So it'd be nice if they could chip in a little bit for airport maintenance.
How long have you been doing this here?
Last 2 years.
Last 2 years, yeah.
Not a problem at all. I mean, they can keep using it. In fact, if they want to make it a permanent sort of, enterprise, then that's great. But it would be nice for them to think of giving the airport something.
I could kick into that drone class or something like that.
Every year.
Yeah.
For educational stuff. It's really going back to the city.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is they're a city department,
Right.
just like we are.
Right.
So it's like one city paying another city, you know what I mean? It's like we're all the same. It's all the same funds. Jean has to approve all of her funds and they all come out of the same pot. Literally. They do. They all come out of the same pot.
Where'd they use their course training in the past?
They used a toll road parking lot that has been torn down now. Like it's all grass.
So, was that like complimentary to the?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yeah, because I know the port used it too, and everybody used that. I don't know where they're doing it now. Sometimes we'll get like a Trail Creek police officer use it during that week. That they're out there, but it's not often. It's just Michigan City.
Oh, I mean, this is very convenient for them, so that's fine. I mean, I was just raising the,
Just ask them.
so if there's no way to transfer funds between departments, then that's fine. I mean,
Can I get a motion to approve the police training, April or October?
Make a motion to approve the Michigan City Police using their facilities from the before May to after September.
a second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, airport development, Paul?
Turn your attention to the packet in your folder. We only have one action item tonight, that's, we had a land acquisition budget in the CIP, we've been working towards that. We had just been charging our time, which was, in full disclosure, it was $10,000 budgeted per parcel, of which we are about $2,000 on each parcel right now. And Jessica brings up a good point. It's a little difficult to track when we're charging it with the rest of the general services. And when we looked at it, the general services anyway, the actual expiration date had expired. So we're wanting to go ahead and sign a new task order just for land acquisition. And it's just an hourly, and it'll go towards the budget that we have. It'll transfer the previous hours into it. So it's not an increase on anything that we'd already agreed to, it's just a better organizational tool, and it'll reset the master services back to the actual date.
Basically, it's because you can't, we got it on invoices that include grant
Eligible
items.
Right now, the invoices are commingling locally paid services with grant paid services,
Right.
which Jessica's having to go through line by line. This will bring this and make it clearer, make it easier for FA to, it'll just be, the invoices will be FA only or local only.
Now, how many do we have? Is it 4?
2.
2.
Right now.
Okay. So you'll cancel them and then rewrite?
Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve project work order number 1.
So here's a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. The rest of my report this evening is just general information, no more action items. But we have one active airport improvement grant going on, and that's for the ALP environmental. Part B, you'll see there, the balance there is still $60,000. Once we get the EA, the environmental document signed off, we'll turn in the balance on that and the airport layout plan. So that leads us to updating on the runway 220 extension, and that, which those funds in that grant are paying for. The one item is the environmental. This Bob Beauchamp that I've referenced here requested, he's the environmental person at the Chicago Airport District Office. He, at the beginning of, well, actually, it was just before your last meeting that we didn't have. He had requested an air quality study, and the reason is because LaPorte County, Lake County, they kind of bounce back and forth between attainment and non-attainment areas on the amount of, with regard to the air particulate limits. And so because of that, he wants us to do an air quality calculation. This is not something that we do a lot. We call around to some of our subs to see if they had it. They don't have it. There's special software you have to buy from the FAA. So I'm not proposing we charge you any more for that because it was in our scope to get the EA done. But it just takes some time. You got to register for the software. Because it has all this aircraft performance in there, engine performances, it has to go through the FBI, and you got to be approved to actually own the software. So then you pay for the software, you get the software, it's supposed to be a 2 to 3 week process. And
What's the software cost?
it's $1,500 for the software, $700 each additional seat. So it's not a,
And y'all never done one of these?
no, because we've never, the only thing you have to do in air model is when you're in an attainment area. So most of Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky are not in attainment areas. But because of this area is attainment, which means you can't increase any more air pollution when you do a project. So what we have to do is we take the runway length justification and the forecast that we have of the aircraft that are going to operate here. We're going to put them in the model and then see what the model spits out.
So what is the implication of that? So the model spits out numbers that are adverse to us,
Right.
what does that mean for us?
It could be bad, but I don't think it will. Talking to Bob, he says, we have double the number of operations we need to build the runway, but it's not, when you're comparing it to O'Hare that has 115 arrivals an hour, it's nothing. So the amount increase won't trigger, he said. Even though the region's over the limit, there is an amount for each project that you.
So he already acknowledges to you that it's not gonna trigger it?
Yes.
But
Well,
yet,
we want that
he
right.
still wants you to have it?
Yes, because.
Oh, that's a requirement from him.
He's gotta check a box.
Yeah. In order, I guess, for it to be environmentally sufficient to follow proper NEPA, he wants us to have this in the document in case. It should be common sense, he agrees, but in case somebody doesn't think it's common sense and says, well, you didn't actually do the math. Now we'll have the math in the document. So,
Well, so looking at, in our favor, we're selling UL 94. That's-
yeah, it's environmentally friendly.
There you go.
So
Do you want this dated today or tomorrow?
today's fine.
So, you know how, people always sort of relate when they say things. Is there a way we can get him? Is it a he, she? It's a him, right? Okay, is there a way we can get him to give us something in writing that says this is not gonna trigger some kind of adverse,
Well,
you know,
that's his assumption right now. The trigger's in writing, there's limits that are published
yeah.
in a big, or actually this is an FAA order 5054B, if you want the limits you can write and send them to you. But they're published, it's not an arbitrary.
So he just can't, even though he's saying things to you, FAA has the upper hand in this, right? Is that the idea?
Well, yeah, they
So-
approve the document. Yeah. It's,
I hope they're not gonna shut it down, right?
well, I don't think that's his intent, that's, I think he's ready to sign off on it, he doesn't wanna talk about it anymore anyway. He just wants us to get the box checked so we can.
What is that thing again, 15?
It's FAA order
Mm-hmm.
5050.4B.
Okay.
So if you Google that, there's it's called the environmental policy handbook. And in there, you'll see there's like 32 NEPA categories in there. One of them's air quality, and it explains the whole limit. I can send you a link to that.
Well, for our benefit in this, I mean, that EA document clock doesn't start ticking until it gets approved anyway, right?
Right, exactly right.
So-
The 3-year window on the EA doesn't happen until.
Till he approves it. So from where we're at, yeah, he can take as much more time as he needs, kinda. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we want to try to get some momentum on it, so I'd like to get the ALP and the EA approved.
yeah, but
If you get up against the 3-year window, they do what's called a letter of update. So
Right.
a letter of update is a pretty simple thing, so long as there hasn't been any major environmental policy changes. If there's been a policy change, then you gotta go back through whatever policy change. Which there are some variables in the next 3 years that could happen.
Right.
So that's on the environmental. The airport layout plan, if you recall, Gary Wilson basically had a few comments, but the big comments was the departure surface sheets. And if you recall on that, we'd always on ALP shown approach surface sheets with the approach surface, and then the FAA came out with departure surfaces, which is the opposite end when the airplane's flying out. It's all good things. On the plan set, the way we showed it, and it's not new to this airport, on every VA, we always showed the departure surface on the same sheet as the approach surface because it's just the opposite end. But because of the scale of the departure surface ends, they're much bigger. It's it's a 6,300 and some odd feet long surface by 6,000 some odd feet wide. The approach surface is 500 feet at the beginning, 1,700 feet wide at the end, and 10,000 feet long. They're different shapes. So the corners of the departure surface wouldn't fit on the same sheet, and because they couldn't see never mind that the obstructions are 200 feet above ground out there, and there's really nothing out there. Those corners don't fit on the sheet. So we had to create new sheets at a different scale that showed the departure surface in its entirety. That's what those departure surface sheets are. Those are done, those are back. So we shouldn't have any more problem with that. Bullet point number 3, we did have a meeting with the property owners of Homestead LLC. I would classify the meeting as a positive meeting. Everybody was in cordial mood and good negotiating spirit, so I think we're heading in the right direction there. They had requested some engineering drawings and so forth that we went over in the meeting. In the meeting, they did request some height contours with respect to the navigation easement that we're looking into. And so that's an IOU back to them that we'll provide to them. So that's kind of the next step. We'll get them that information, and then they'll respond to Bill Nelson in writing of some sort. And so that's where we're at on that.
And then we'll have an executive session.
Yeah,
We'll ask for service.
yeah. I guess it just depends if their response back in writing is we agree to your offer of just compensation, no changes, then we won't need an executive session. We'll just meet and you'll sign and everybody will go down. If there is a modification or something slightly different that they're requesting, then we'll have an executive session. We'll have to talk through that.
I thought that was Indiana stuff.
That's what Paul, he didn't care. If you do in pink, I'll give you a pink this time.
And then
That's the Indiana.
we covered the general services agreement. And then just, so everybody understands, the FAA is committed to fund the land acquisition. We've gone over that with both playing parties and the timing of those funds, which will be this fiscal year, which ends in September of this year. So that's what we're planning. And we've already submitted a pre-grant application based on the appraised values and the offers that we've already offered. The last item is miscellaneous. I don't think we need to talk about this evening until some of the capital issues around the city are resolved. But a couple of months ago, we had gone down the path of preparing a scoping document to bid an equipment building and the first version, the location was not acceptable to Jessica and board. So we went back and so there's a picture in there in the packet. This is where we kind of left it and we stopped working on it. We have the spec book drafted. We kind of have this location based on what we tweaked before. The location would be the red box. That green box in there is a future transient overnight or maintenance hangar or somebody wants to come on the field and do airplane A&P services, those sorts of things. So that's we're just kind of trying to illustrate that both could still fit in that area. They'll be tied, but.
And then
That's not too close to the runway?
So, the interesting thing.
Because I thought the tall structures was like that maintenance hangar we have here that we use as a guide.
Right. So, when we updated the AOP, we did all of the future as a B2. In your old AOP, it was C3, or C2. And the C2, so those are approach speeds and wingspans. The 2 is the wingspan, so we're not changing the wingspan, but we took the approach speed from C back to B. And the reason we did that is, and so that, that's up to 120 knots or less. Approach speed 120 or more are Cs.
Right.
So, I mean, that covers a huge range. The 737s and
Airbuses and
Airbuses, all those are in the C group. The only GAs that are really in C group are some of the older Lears, like Lear 20s, Lear 35. Those Lears were fast. And some old Falcons that had little stubby wings and a whole lot of horsepower, they had to have a lot of approach speed to not stop. Those airplanes are going away. So, and all of the airplanes in our runway length justification are in the B2s.
Okay.
So we took it to B2. What that means is the only reason you would ever need that wider width now, so all those buildings were set on, in Part 77, there's the primary surface. That is a rectangle that's centered around the runway. And in B2, as long as your instrument approach procedures do not go below 3/4 of a mile and 250 feet. So you get 250 feet above ground level, 3/4 of a mile from the end of the runway. As long as you're that or higher, your primary surface is only 500 feet wide. 200 feet each side of center line, and then the transitional surface goes up at 7-to-1 from there. So if you do the math on that, say a 35-foot style structure, you can be around 500 feet from center line. Where before, I see the primary surface was 1,000 foot wide. Because it's a faster approach speed, you want stuff further from center line. So that, when you're at that C group, the primary surface 1,000, that's 500 feet each side of center line. So now you're starting the 7-to-1 transition at 500 feet. Do the math on that, the 35-foot building needs to be 650-ish feet away from the runway center line,
Nice.
which is where that's at. So that gains you a little bit more space.
Okay.
As long as you don't ever want ILS. If you want 200.5 approach minimums in here, which is highly unlikely considered the obstructions you have on each end anyway. If you want a 200.5, then you need to have that 1,000-foot line.
We never get that right away.
Right. So highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So I think the space is.
So we're not gonna get category 3 in here?
Yeah, someday we might, someday GPS might catch up to where you can do.
I thought Weiss was getting there.
You can't have a loss that is 200.5, but it has to overlay an ILS.
Oh, okay.
And so right now, the only losses that are 200.5 overlay an existing instrument ILS approach. But that's not the only one. So the technology exists. Yeah, you can get a GPS satellite system to allow you to fly at 200.5, but you also have to have the pathway clear, which we don't on each end, and considering the environmental constraints on each end, was probably unlikely.
Right.
And you'd have to have approach lights. To get below the 3/4, you have to have like a moles.
Right.
Moles R, moles F, something of those, the approach lights with the rabbits, which would take us
You
way.
gotta get the runway first.
Category 3, you don't need that. You don't need those lights.
Oh, okay.
Because we can break out,
You're landing.
they're behind you.
That's right.
Well, that concludes my report.
Okay, let's see, any old business? Everybody? We have I guess we call this new business, the Zubilee contract.
Yeah, we have a Zubilee contract. We've talked about them doing the fundraiser out here back in September of last year. The board was excited about that. Everything's great. They're gonna use the maintenance hangar. We have all the details together and, we have the contract ready. Bill Nelson kind of put this contract together. It's the same one that we've used for every fundraiser out here. It's a city contract that the park uses and everybody else. So Johnny Stimley, he's on the zoological board. He literally just drove by today, so he stopped and signed it, just in case you guys have any changes or want to make any changes. But it's the same one that they've used last time too. I am waiting on a couple of things for it. The license supplied a site plan diagram. We have the diagram, and I have that here. They already applied for their beer and wine permit. They got that. It shows their floor plan in that as well, and it's signed off by the police here and everything.
Do they have to pay the 500, or is that just like a bond for that liquor license?
I honestly don't know.
Seems pretty steep.
I don't know the answer to that. So the gentleman that is kind of taking care of this is Richard Warner, super great guy. He was not able to make it tonight, but he said that he's available by phone call if you have any questions that I can't answer. But in here, the event's April 25th, it's from 5 to 9. They have advertising out for, you can look it up on Facebook or anywhere you want to look. Tickets are going to be $50. They're also offering plane rides with Region Flyers. I got a hold of Brad, and we have Region Flyers doing plane rides for them that night. So there's also tickets for $100, which includes a plane ride that evening. And it's going to be beer, beer, wine, and they're doing like tasting.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're doing some tastings as well, food and things like that. They're going to do a porta potty. They're going to have Marty Corley out here. He's going to be their security for the night, so they have that. It's all set. We're all ready to go.
Anybody have any objection to that?
Date?
April 25th.
It's not the first time that we're here.
Nope, they were here 3 years ago, and they did their fundraiser event then.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it'll be a really good time. I mean, you guys are welcome to attend. $50 for no plane ride, which none of you need, and $100
Yeah.
if you do have a plane ride. I mean, I can't see T-Bag paying $50 for a plane ride and a plane other than his own, but you never know. So, there you have it. And they do have something to where if somebody pays the $100 to do the plane ride and there's bad weather or something like that, they are going to do a rain date for that. So, yeah. I don't know if there's...
Do we have a motion to approve the Jubilee contract?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Jubilee contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And then who is the secretary? Are you the secretary? I don't remember.
Who's trying?
You're the secretary, okay. So then there's an attest on there that you can sign. I don't know if you want to see these too. It's up here.
Sign the top, cover the name on the bottom.
Yeah, I just included these because they have the description on there, and sometimes you guys are wondering what certain things are for. So then there's descriptions on all these, but not in the claims docket, so that's why I guess those.
In the business of COVID-19, should things get worse, what do we do with airport closure? What do we do? How do we approach that?
It'd be a city call. The city would make the call. Would be a city department. Would
Probably health department of Port County,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
It's a good question, though, I'll bring it up.
Has anybody talked about that at all that you know? Okay.
It's a good question.
I would think the health department, but there's not that, not to my knowledge.
I'm not scared.
You're vaccinated, aren't you? Must be. Gotta be.
I've lived a good life, it's okay.
Oh my God.
It's your time, Kirk, it's your time.
So,
Just make sure you come say goodbye before you check out.
if I got it, I'm not coming now, okay?
Don't worry, T-Bag.
I'll give you a call.
There you go. Oh, Lord.
Okay, I think we're down to claims, claims dockets. We have two of them, one for February for $19,709.60. I get a motion to approve claims docket for February 13th.
I make a motion that we approve the claims docket for February 13th.
All in favor, oh, second or second? Second. Okay, I'm saying, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And then we have, the claims docket for, today, March 5th, 2020, for $8,235.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So a motion to approve the claims docket.
I make a motion to approve the claims docket for March.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let me sign this real quick before I forget. Okay, any correspondence?
None.
Sam, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you when we started the meeting. Do you have anything to add, or you?
Not really. My name is Sam Ferguson. I'm a city resident, actually on the Port Authority Board.
Okay.
I'm just excited about the runway extension, and I just thought I'd come today and just see if you talked about it at all. Former Air Force pilot, long time ago,
There you go.
aviation advocate, so just here to hear
Well, great,
what you got.
you're welcome anytime. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. What'd you fly?
I love it.
What did you fly in the
Oh,
air?
I'm sorry, big cargo planes, finished up in rescue helicopters, it was a long time ago, about $1,800.
He's a helicopter pilot too.
I'd rather be at a fixed wing.
All right, you're in good company. He was an Air Force pilot.
Navy.
Navy.
Navy and then Air Force. I did both. I did a little bit of both.
Airline
It
pilot.
was interesting lifting to your approach speed, you're talking about 120 miles an hour, I guess. But I remember landing at 165 knots plus fuel, just all the time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time ago, it was fun.
Very good.
I had a friend that he did an approach at 250 knots in a F-105, no flat, no slat.
I heard about that story.
And his tires.
It was in Vietnam.
Luban, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was there just after that, I was there about 2 years after that, I think. I heard about that.
Yeah, Ross Mickelson was his name.
Yeah, took it up, they were refueled them all the way in.
Oh, did you?
So from what I heard, he had some sort of a tanker refueled him in the last 5 miles. Because he was streaming fuel so fast, he couldn't.
Yeah, he had combat damage.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, good, well, great having you here.
Thank you.
That's public comment. I think we're done.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
That's it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Six.